Welcome to the ultimate night crafting adventure, guided by the expertise of Daggs and powered by the Jewelers Crypto Guild. Today, we dive into the heart of battle, exploring the countless paths to glory through the art of the night build. Remember, in this realm, RNG reigns supreme, offering a unique journey each time. Will you follow Daggs into the fray? The quest for the perfect night build starts now. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick so everyone knows who you are.
All right, thanks, Dan. I am Daggs. I'm one of the guild leaders of the Jewelers Guild, and I have found myself really enjoying summoning and combat, just building heroes so that I can win.
All right, so you're one of the elite combat players out there, and that's why I chose you to start to build some of these builds for me. So this one, I noticed we got a knight, and he's a tank, and you chose a really unique name for him. So why did you choose the name Tank?
Well, you're going to see that name's not exciting. This hero is not exciting. It's going to be sitting in the front line, soaking up as much physical damage as it can, and it might dish out some damage on the side, but really this build for the tank just says, get hit, it's okay if you miss, just stay in front and don't let your team die.
So meat shield.
It is a meat shield. We could change the name to a meat shield, I don't know.
Alright, so we got subclasses here. So now I noticed this one, unlike the warrior, you actually have some choices here. Can you kind of fill me in why we picked these choices?
Sure. Yeah, we're staying away from the magical classes, and we're staying away from the squishy damage dealers. So we're staying away from like ninja. We're staying away from archer. We want this guy to be as beefy as he can get. So I want endurance. I want vitality. If I could get wisdom, that would be awesome. The dread, the dragoon, they have a higher chance of getting some wisdom bonuses right now. But as of the time of this recording, March 31st, 2024, the priest is the only thing that can do magic damage, and we're not really fighting anything that does magic damage. So we don't really know how important wisdom is, but this kind of build is going to be paired with, I imagine, some sort of healer at all times. So if it is getting hit by magic, I think it'll be able to heal right back up.
So on the abilities, now none of these are really usable yet, but
right.
I see you have a list here. So what's the point of going for these now since they don't do anything?
Sure. I think we have our assumptions about heal and cleanse, and I think Iron Skin and Hardened Shield are going to be pretty steady. So those are going. This is a physical resistance character. I think those will kind of lend itself perfectly to this build. Of course, Second Wind and Resurrection are helpful because we're going to have high vitality. But the other ones are just, it's not the end of the world if you get them. Don't restart the hero if you get those skills. And then the passives are really just for extending the livelihood of the hero. Foresight I think is always good. You don't want this hero to get feared. You don't really want it to get poisoned. Anything that'll prevent the need of a cleanse is kind of what I went for down there. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and hide that for now so we can focus on just these abilities here.
Yep.
So now I noticed you went for stone. You have quite a few choices, but you also went for vitality again. What's the point of the vitality?
Yeah, you're always going to want those vitality bonuses every level. You're going to want to get them as soon as possible. You want to lock those bonuses down because they add a vitality modifier to every level up. So if we look on the right, we straight up admit this will get wrecked by magic. We're not going to sugarcoat it. But we want to get our decks to 20 and then just move away from it. Don't go for it anymore. Move the stats somewhere else. But we can't. I feel like we need to hit at least 20 vitality as soon as possible.
All right, and that's to get your health up.
Yep.
All right, so now on growth, I noticed you went with vitality again, but outside of that, you really don't care whatever else you can get.
Right, yeah, it was time to start boosting up, or growth, I'm sorry. We were going on growth. I don't know why I skipped there. All these skills will be useful for a knight, or all these stats. It doesn't really matter if you're getting strength, dex, agility, vitality, like, they'll all have their spot with a knight. So, just take what you can get with it.
So let's get into the level ups then. I noticed you got a pretty basic setup here from 1 through 5, focusing strongly on vitality. So lead that into me and kind of explain the compounding effects of vitality.
Yeah, sure. So with the vitality scores, there's three different ways you can get. You can get a small roll, a medium roll, a large roll. The large roll adds, so you have like I believe it's a plus 30 plus your vitality score times 1.5. So you're adding a multiplier of your vitality to every single level up. So the sooner you get that up, that modifier is just going to compound the higher and higher your vitality gets. So we want to start early. We want to get some good rolls early, which is why, I mean, you might like that vitality stone because it gives you the boost to vitality straight away.
And that's going to get you that health bonus throughout.
Yeah, so even if you get the small roll, if you have a high vitality, it'll make up for it.
All right. So I noticed you have some goals you want to reach here with the health and the mana. So how important is it to hit that 400 and that 60?
Yeah, I'd say as long as you're within like 25 of it, you're in pretty good shape, or maybe even 50 of the health. That could be recovered on later levels because we're gonna use crystals on vitality, so the stats will eventually start to snowball. So if you're not quite there at level 5, it's not the end of the world, but it'd be good to be pretty close to around 400 HP. Mana is not as important with this build. Mostly you might use like 5 skills in one battle, and it's either going to be a taunt or it's going to be that forever vigilant to try and get a daze to prevent some channeling. Other than that, it's probably just going to be basic attacks sitting up front.
So it says vitality 20 and 15 to dex. Is that based on the growth?
So no, you'd want a total score of 20 vitality. And if you can get it by level 5, that'd be great. 15 on the dex. So you still need to be able to hit with this build. So it's not like you can completely swear off dexterity. You need to be able to hit. And probably at level 10, like 15 dex isn't going to cut it, because I think for the basic swords you need, I believe, at least 17. But yeah, if I don't mean to skip ahead, but we do have a dexterity target later. And if for some reason at this point, like, you hit 20 dex, just move away from it and start boosting strength, and maybe, or I think that is supposed to be an or.
Yeah.
So you can, I don't know, it's saying, so use the bonus stat on strength and the Gaia's bonus on wisdom. So yeah, so move away from dexterity for a little bit and try and build that wisdom modifier. Or I guess instead of wisdom, you could, no, you're already putting it into endurance. Yeah, so I guess for the Gaia's blessing, I guess we could have wisdom there, or you can always put more vitality. So if you could add at the end of wisdom, put or vitality, because some people just might not care about wisdom. Yeah, so just kind of make yourself, if you already got your dex goal for some reason, as soon as you hit it, just move away and make yourself tankier. We're already boosting strength. We're already going to be boosting endurance, so we're just trying to make this guy fat at this point.
All right, so it shows 6 through 8, kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like you moved over to the bonus stat over to dexterity. So I'm assuming that's if you haven't hit 20 already, start focusing on that bonus stat.
Yeah, and if you hit that, if you got dexterity already to 20, just move that bonus stat over to strength. Start getting strength, and then put your Gaia's blessings into the things that make you more resilient. So vitality, endurance, wisdom.
And I noticed throughout this whole build, you don't have nothing on agility, so you don't care about his turn rate. As long as he
just
stays
supposed
up
to get
front,
hit.
takes damage.
Just get him hit. Yeah, this build is supposed to feel okay if you have to spend a turn shifting back to the front.
Sounds good. So down here, it looks like you switched things up a little bit, 12 to 15. So you wanted your Gaia's bonus and then your crystal in strength, and then you moved everything over to vitality and endurance. So we're no longer worried about dex because we hit that 20 at this point.
Yeah, and moved back over to strength. Moved the stone over to strength because we don't fully we still want to hit those modifiers, and they should be nice based off of the secondary class, the subclasses that we recommended. If you crystal, you should see some good returns on that statistically, but it is DFK, so who knows. And at this point, we're going to move back and get a little more vitality. So we're going to be using that bonus stat to grab some more guaranteed vitality. These heroes, when this hero's done, vitality will probably still be your highest stat, even though we're putting a lot into strength. But there's a reason for it, and we'll explain it in a minute. And then endurance.
990 on the health.
Yeah, so a 300 HP increase. With the amount of points you're putting into vitality, you shouldn't be too far off of that.
So that's at level 15. So we're not really fully used to fighting with heroes above level 15.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on your prediction, what if he's only at 700 at 15? Is he still a good meat shield, or should we think about some other purpose for him?
It starts to get really expensive to level heroes up. If you're only at 700, I guess that would depend on your other stats, because maybe you did that intentionally. Maybe you moved away from vitality to build wisdom or more dexterity, because dexterity does help you block. That's kind of its importance here. So if you've done that intentionally, where you've moved away from vitality and you only have 700, it's still a usable hero. But if I'm only seeing, and this is supposed to be a competitive hero, and I'm only seeing 700 HP, I might consider moving away from it.
All right. So it's going to be ready for the pit if it's not 700 or better. But we're going for 900. We want that 900 mark.
Yeah, and it's supposed to take hits. So if you're 200, if you're 200 health short, what kind of crits can you survive at that point? Right.
Not a whole lot.
So if you're down,
get hit hard.
Yeah, level 15. If you get hit by a crit on a wild charge from the boars, I think it's over 550 damage. And of course, it's gonna account for some of your endurance with that too, kind of resisting. But that's 2 more. You're going to be in the front, so 2 more hits from the babies, and you're out after a crit. And that's hoping that your healer didn't get dazed or stunned. So, yeah.
And I'm just asking you these questions because I just want to make sure we put out there that how important it is to get at that high health with this type of hero.
Yeah.
So I do notice from 16 to 20, you're really hammering strength at this point. Still helping out vitality a little bit, but you're mainly worried about crit and strength. So now you're trying to do damage. What's the switch up here?
Yeah, so at this point with the resistances, it starts getting really hard to use challenge. So you start adding multiplier, your strength modifier to challenge. So we want to get back to jacking that up pretty high so that the bosses that we're facing have a lesser chance of resisting. So it's really difficult to taunt something at this level with challenge. So we're trying to give that every boost that we can. And then luck plays a little bit into everything, where I feel like we're finally at a point where we can start playing with some of the other stats. If you want to add more points to your wisdom or your luck, now's the time. We've kind of established ourselves as a kind of a defensive powerhouse here. And you're adding strength and endurance for the king. That's one of your passive abilities. You're adding endurance to Ironclad, another one of your passive abilities. So if you want to move into endurance instead of luck, by all means, go ahead. I just put luck there to show you that, like, okay, you can start having some fun with this guy.
He's no longer just a meat shield. You can now start actually playing him.
Right. And he doesn't have the highest dex. So if you now ready for battle, increases your chance, your damage with your basic attack by, I believe, 10%. And if you're not hitting anyway, you can move over to something like Iron Shield, where you'll get additional defense bonuses instead of trying to hit somebody.
Yeah, and I see that's your last notes on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now we also have health at 1,200 on here and 110 per man. So help me understand where you came up with that number.
Sure. I kind of looked at all the level 20s that we had, and they're all legendary and they're mythic. And it looked like except for one of them, all of them were above 1,200. I think we were kind of doing a pattern. It looked like each 5 levels we could expect at least a 300 HP increase. So 1,200 was just kind of the natural step. And then I went and I looked at the data for what we had. I mean, there's only like 20 level 20 knights right now, so there wasn't much to draw from. But these are minimums. So we want you to see, like, you hit 1,200, it's okay. I mean, if you see yourself at 1,100, at this point, that's still like, 1 hit. So it's not the end of the world if you're not at that 1,200. But we definitely wanted to give you something to shoot for so that you could be successful. And I also put the data into the ADFK, Adventures in DeFi Kingdom app, and just kind of double checked off of the Box and Whisker plots to see kind of where everybody stands. But the spreads at that level with so few heroes are they're so volatile that I really couldn't get a good read on it. It made it seem like you should be over 1,200. But those were with most of the guys at that level are legendary and mythic right now, so it might not give a good read on the rares. So kind of tried to balance that out, gave the player a little bit of leeway with that amount. So you could be well over 1,200 with how we're building this.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. 1,200 it seems high, just because right now most of us are dealing with 600-700. And you're talking about 1,200, it's like, whoa, that's a big jump, but it's really not if you think about it. So our skills down here, do you have both these set the same?
No. Challenge I took away for the Bad Mother Cluckers, and I replaced it with Mighty Strike. Or you could do Shield Up if you just don't feel like trying to hit. So yeah, the challenge is the taunt. So the taunt's useful when preventing the mama boar from doing a rampage, but the resistance is pretty high on that. So if the hero's not built properly, you're not going to get the taunt off a lot. And then on the so I guess you could even argue that you might want to just do Mighty Strike here. But this is going to be such a defensive powerhouse that if you can get a taunt off, I mean, it's nice to have them hit your knight as much as possible instead of somebody else. So we got the taunt there. For the king, gives you bonuses to strength and endurance, which they're important for all your ability, your other abilities. Forever Vigilant is a strength-based attack. It takes in your attack damage, and you have a chance to daze on that. Ironclad Defense just adds more defensive bonuses, and Battle Ready gives you that bonus to your basic attacks. If you're not planning on hitting, and you just want to be a meat shield and soak up damage, you might want to move over to Iron Shield or maybe even Royal Guard. But if you can't hit, Iron Shield's probably your better chance than Battle Ready, because you're not going to be doing basic attacks anyway. I mean, this guy can sit there and stay in the front. He can toss potions. And he might even dish out a little damage depending on how your Dex looks. So.
All right, so Mother Cluckers, that's...
Yeah, so if you taunt, I can't remember the exact penalty for it, but I think if you taunt the mama chicken, she gets a lot of bonuses. So you're not going to be taunting her. You could still kill the chicks, but I think at that point with this, you're better off just having either Mighty Strike or Shield Up. And Shield Up, of course, gives you, I think it's 4 rounds of defensive bonuses, so that you can just take those hits. And then from there, it's we have For the King. We moved away from Forever Vigilant and took Hold the Line, because when the Mama Chicken's in the front row, if she starts channeling, you can use Hold the Line. It has a chance to push her back a row, so it'll stop her channel. Or you can push her back a row so that if you kill the middle chick, and she gets pushed back a row, that would bring the middle chick to the front, and it would let your melee heroes do damage to that egg instead of them being blocked by the mother. And you have to be careful with the mother's health, because you don't want the chicks turning into demon chicks, the void chicks.
Yeah.
And then I went for Ironclad Defense again, and that gives you your endurance bonuses. And I did Battle Ready, but you may want to do Iron Shield if you're not going to be doing basic attacks anyway. Why I say, like, if you're not going to be doing base attacks, I found with this build, I've had a level 11 knight that I brought in with 2 archers at level 14, and I beat the chickens because he didn't try to attack. He just sat there and did Shield Up and Iron Shield and didn't attack at all. And I just let the archers do their work. So, I mean, you have that opportunity to do that kind of gap. I mean, it's a minimum level 12. I threw in a level 11, so he counted as a 12, and then he had 2 level 14s on the team. So I just said, we're not going to hit, we're just going to turtle up, and it was pretty successful. So
there you go. Yeah, we're building Meat Shield, so I mean, his whole thing is just to take all that damage. So
just get hit.
It makes sense.
Yeah, and then you might be wondering, why didn't I take any of those abilities where they redirect to the knight? I just don't like them. I just don't like those abilities. So I'd rather take a different one that gives different bonuses.
All right. So with this build, is there anything special that you think we need to know about or that you want to add in here?
Yeah, there's really not too many tricks to it. Just get hit so everyone else doesn't. It's if you're going to go in with a build like this with a priest, it's going to be slow, and you better make sure that your DPS, your damage dealer, stays alive. This is kind of like an all-out offense build or a stalling build. So if you have a priest with a lot of mana and you have a damage dealer who's just a technician, you want to just let him work and let this guy get hit. That'll take a while, but you'll get it done. And I've done this build. I have done it with a priest, a ninja, and a knight, where the knight just shields up pretty much. And I've been successful with it, but it takes a long time. So primary uses out of this you'll probably get is with no heals and 2 damage dealers. So because this prevents the need for some of the heals.
Sounds good. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. I just want to let everybody know, if you want access to these sheets, the link to the sheets will be in the description down below. So if you want to see them, go ahead and look there. Daggs will be doing some comp builds also to show you where exactly these heroes fit best in the compositions. So any last words? If not, we're going to go ahead and end it.
Yeah, and this isn't the end all be all. This is just one of the many knight builds. So if you don't like this one, there's other ones. Don't worry.
All right. Thanks again.